This is Providence Television International, the game changer. Stand by for the next program.
On the world news, Israeli strikes hit central area of Lebanon's Beirut, kill 22, and over 79 million girls in sub-Saharan Africa raped, sexually assaulted. This is the world news. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us in the world news on Providence Television International. Edna Caesar Garrick is my name. And now the details. Israeli airstrike on central Beirut have killed 22 people and wounded at least 117. Lebanon's health ministry say the strike appeared to have hit densely populated residential areas as flames and smoke rose from two residential blocks. Many residents left the apartment in the high-rise blocks in the area and gathered in county yards as emergency service rushed to the scene. The injured were brought to local hospital, which sent out a warning asking people not to donate blood because they were already overwhelmed by the number of casualties and inflow of family members. The attack, which came without warning, marked the third time since Israel expanded its campaign on Lebanon in late September that its bombs have hit outside Dahieh, a southern suburb that has seen near daily air raid in recent weeks. Israel also attacked Beirut Kola on September 29 and Baktura on October 3rd. There was no immediate comment on the incident by Israel, but its army issued a new evacuation warning on Thursday night for Beirut's southern suburb, including specific building. Earlier in the day, Israel warned Lebanese civilians not to return to their homes in the south of the country. United States Vice President Kamala Harris said a ceasefire deal was needed in Lebanon and in Gaza. The United Nations Children's Agency says 1 in 8 girls and young women across the world have endured rape and sexual violence, which recorded in sub-Saharan Africa. UNICEF published its first ever global estimate on sexual violence against children, revealing that 79 million girls, 1 in 5 in sub-Saharan countries hit by conflict and insecurity, had experienced sexual assault or rape before turning 18. Girls who had suffered the trauma of sexual abuse were often unable to learn at school. Globally, UNICEF estimates that sexual violence has affected some 370 million, or 1 in 8 girls and young women. The number rises to 650 million, or 1 in 5 when taking into account non-contact forms of sexual violence, such as online or verbal abuse. The report said that while girls and women were worse affected, 240 to 310 million boys and men, or about 1 in 11, have experienced rape or sexual assault during childhood. However, the data show that sexual violence against children is pervasive, cutting across geographical, cultural, and economical boundaries. Sub-Saharan Africa had the highest number of victims, with 79 million girls and women affected, followed by 75 million in Eastern and Southeastern Asia, 73 million in Central and Southern Asia, 68 million in Europe and Northern America, 45 million in Latin America and the Caribbean, 29 million in Northern Africa and Western Asia, and 6 million in Oceania. The release of such a figure is a first calculated using national data and international survey program from 2010 to 2022, said Claudia Kappa, UNICEF chief statistician. She said there were no inevitable holes in the data as well as underreporting from some countries. At least 16 people are confirmed dead after Hurricane Milton passed through Florida. Through the total number of deaths could rise as rescue workers made their way through flood waters and debris. More than 2 million homes and businesses are without power, and thousands of people have been rescued from flooded areas. Officials are warning more flooding is likely in the coming days. Florida residents are being warned not to visit areas hit by Hurricane Milton after it brought tornadoes, floods, and storms surged to the state. Officials in Florida are warning residents about home repair scams in the area following Hurricane Milton and last month Hurricane Helena. Sarasota Brinden International Airport says it will remain closed today due to Hurricane Milton. In the middle of the night in Florida shows the widespread flooding, wind damage and debris left in Hurricane Milton's wake. Rescue teams will be continuing their search on Friday and the cleanup operation could take weeks or months. Milton made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane in Siesta Key, Florida, a coastal community about 50 miles south of Tampa at about 20:30 EST on Wednesday and 3:30 BST on Thursday, according to National Hurricane Center. After tearing across Florida's peninsula, Milton has weakened into a post-tropical cyclone and its center has moved away from the state into the Atlantic Ocean. If you are just joining us, this is the World News on Providence Television International. Sudan's army has launched an offensive to retake the capital Khartoum and surrounding area from the Rapid Support Forces. A rival paramilitary, the assault comes more than a year into the devastating war which has caused one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises, the outbreak of disease and widespread displacement. Yet, there is no end in sight to the conflict, which has killed thousands of people. Away from the foreign scene now back home, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar III, has appealed to Nigerians to always pray for their leaders, even in bad situations. The Sultan urged Nigerians to stop the habit of insulting their leaders, but instead pray for these leaders no matter the situation. Alhaji Abubakar stressed that only Almighty Allah can bring positive change and make leadership better, noting that outright condemnation of leaders is not an option. Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar is also the head of the Muslim community in Nigeria. Veteran broadcaster and media executive Dr. Emmanuel Igariva has called for immediate reforms aimed at strengthening Nigerian institutions. Dr. Igariva made a call today during an interview session on Providence Television International. He noted that the judiciary, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the police are in dire need of urgent changes in the ways their duties are performed, stressing that Nigerians deserve the best from these institutions. Dr. Igariwa also postulated that important positions as those of the Inspector General of Police and the INEC chairman should be elective as a means to boost transparency and efficiency of the institutions they represent.
What happened long before now? Time was when the judiciary was the last bastion of hope for the common man. Today, is it? That's a question that people must answer. All right. The police and, of course, INEC, are they playing their roles creditably? I think that is the question that must agitate the minds of many Nigerians at the moment. And these are critical institutions, honestly. They are critical institutions for national development and also for the development of the electoral process. Because you see, I have always said it, if you have a good INEC, chances are that many people will not want to go to court, which is true. Yes.
State Muhammad Abubakar has called on Nigerian youth to rise up and take up the responsibility for salvaging the country. Mr. Abubakar, who spoke recently at the first Bauchi SDGs Youth Summit 2024, declared that his generation and its set of leaders, including himself, have failed to provide Nigerians with the kind of leadership they deserve. The ex-governor, while disclosing his investment on youth during his administration, stressed that with poor investment on youth, their readiness for the leadership role of the future of the country is already at stake. He called on youth to brace up for the challenges of leadership and change the country's present narrative. The Assistant Comptroller General, Nigerian Customs Service Southwest Zone, Saidu Yusuf, on Thursday disclosed the service commitment to deploy available technological devices to achieve efficient border control and tackle smuggling headlong. The Assistant Control General also lauded the Ogun Area Command for achieving a record of over 20 billion naira in revenue for the federal government between January and August, as against 14 billion naira recorded within the same period last year. He disclosed that efforts are ongoing to use technology to enhance Nigeria border security and patrol, noting that training and retraining of officers is presently going on. The police in Enugu State have arrested a 52-year-old medical doctor Emmanuel Chimobi Ugumba for alleged child trafficking and forgery. In a statement by the command spokesperson DSP Daniel Ndokwe, Dr. Ugumba was arrested by the Command Operative 7 in Anti-Kidnapping Tactical Squad of September 28, 2024. The suspect, who claimed to be a graduate of medicine from the University of Jos, owns and manages Chima Hospital and Maternity located at Ubaike, Enugu Ezike. Igbo is a North local government area of Enugu State. Upon arrest, he was found to be involved in child trafficking with one pregnant woman and two children aged 4 and 2 years. He has been arraigned in court and remanded in the Nigerian Correctional Custodial Center pending further hearing. With that, we've come to the end of the world news. But before we go, let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines. We brought to the report which says at least 16 people are confirmed dead after Hurricane Milton passed through Florida. Through the total number of deaths could rise as rescue workers make their way through floodwaters and debris. More than 2 million homes and businesses are without power, and thousands of people have been rescued from flooded areas. The United Nations Children Agency says 1 in 8 girls and young women across the world have endured rape and sexual violence, which recorded in sub-Saharan Africa. UNICEF published its first ever global estimate on sexual violence against children, revealing that 79 million girls, 1 in 5 in sub-Saharan countries hit by conflict and insecurity, had experienced sexual assault or rape before turning 18. And finally, Israeli airstrike on central Beirut have killed 22 people and wounded at least 117. Lebanon's health ministry said the strike appeared to have hit densely populated residential areas as flames and smoke rose from 2 residential blocks. That's our package. Thanks for watching. Edna Zagarak is my name. Good afternoon.